Embattled but defiant in a bizarre speech, an angry Muammar Gaddafi calls on his supporters to confront protesters, says he won't resign and vows to fight to the death. A desperate leader feeling betrayed? What does this say about his state of mind as he fights for his future? One of our guests today, a former member of Gaddafi's inner circle. This is Inside Story. Welcome to the program. I'm Imran Garda. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has apparently set the stage for a violent final showdown to crush ongoing protests against his rule across Libya. In an angry and ranting speech, Gaddafi said he hadn't ordered the use of force yet, but if he does, Libya will burn. He has also threatened to turn Libya into what he called another Somalia should his regime fall. Well, what is his state of mind at this point in time? We'll be talking to a panel of guests, including one of the closest aides to Gaddafi for 40 years. But first, Zainab Walji and this report.
If his words were meant to calm and reassure Libyans, he failed miserably. Muammar Gaddafi's ranting and often nonsensical 75-minute speech confirmed that he has no intention to compromise.
I will not leave the country, and I will die as a martyr at the end.
Previously unquestioned loyalty to Muammar Gaddafi is fast unravelling, and the clearly paranoid leader made overt threats against his own people.
And when they are caught and prosecuted, and they are begging for mercy, we will not be merciful, we will not be forgiving.
His appearance would be amusing if the situation wasn't so tragic. Thousands of protesters have been killed and injured, many of them displaying the scars of brute force used against them. Gaddafi has controlled Libya with an iron fist for 42 years. Under his rule, the country was perceived in the West as a pariah state, accused of funding terrorism. He is said to have bankrolled Black September and the Munich massacre at the 1972 Olympics. He acknowledged that Libya had a responsibility in the bombing of Pan Am 103 that killed 270 people over Lockerbie in 1988. In the 80s, Gaddafi began work on what he saw as his great calling. Establishing a large Arab state across North Africa, it led to a 2-year war with Chad. Relations with the West, in particular the United States, improved in the past few years, after Gaddafi dismantled his nuclear program. But that political honeymoon proved short-lived. During his 42 years in power, he has glorified himself as the great uniter of Africa, the great uniter of the Arabs. He even gave himself the title of King of Culture at a UN summit. And it's this detachment from reality that has made him the object of both political and personal fascination, not to mention ridicule. For years, Gaddafi has displayed eccentricities that baffled many. His entourage is made up exclusively of female bodyguards. His views of the world, religion and power are summed up in his so-called Green Book, a must-read for all Libyans. During his visit to Italy in 2010, aimed at cementing ties between Rome and Tripoli, he even tried to convert supermodels to Islam by handing out Qurans. Ronald Reagan nicknamed him the Mad Dog of the Middle East. Some say he is more of a jester of the court than the leader of a nation. Zainab Walji, Inside Story.
Well, joining us now, our guests from Paris, Nouri al-Masmari, former head of Gaddafi's protocol. Mr. al-Masmari resigned 2 days ago from his post. He was a member of Gaddafi's closest circle. In fact, here you can see him walking with Gaddafi in Italy earlier. And from London, Mohammed al-Abdallah, the Deputy Secretary General of the National Front for Salvation of Libya. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. Mr. al-Masmari, if I could start with you, you would have watched and listened to that speech by Muammar al-Gaddafi. What did you think? What's going on in his mind at this moment in time?
Well, to be honest, what other force he has got? After using mercenaries, tanks, bombing by the Air Force, is there any other more forces to be used? What? What kind of forces there is still hidden? We've been using all all sorts of forces being used against the innocent Libyan people. Just they were marching to ask for their human rights, not more nor less.
Did you expect him to respond in this way?
Well, he already did it. I mean, he been bombing Tripoli by Air Force, and the testimony of that, the witness of that two Mirage from the Libyan Air Force, they went to Malta asking for political asylum. On top of that, he was sending two warships to Benghazi, and they turned it around and went to Malta for political asylum too. I mean, there is no more other force to be used unless he is going to use another weapon, which is unknown. It's another thing.
Is that why you resigned?
Of course, I did not resign for this reason. I resigned for the mass genocide killing of my people. It is a blindly shooting. I mean, they are just what do you want? A mercenary doesn't know Libya. He knows only the money. He paid these mercenaries with the Libyan money to kill the Libyans, innocent. One woman, she came out of the balcony asking her son to come inside and not stay outside. She been shot on the spot and killed, and she fell down from the second floor. She was doing a march, or she just was calling her son. Imagine to what level. They are blind, they don't care.
But
who is die, who doesn't stay, or who doesn't...
Mr. Al-Mismari, before that, for almost 40 years, you were at Muammar Gaddafi's side. Did you do anything during those 4 decades that you regret now?
I haven't. Thanks God, I was performing my duty as a state chief of protocol, and the state chief of protocol did not do anything against his people. I mean, I am a diplomat, and first of all, I resigned for 15 years. I mean, within this 40 years, I left for 15 years, and I had to return back. I was called to return back, and I came back. But I never done anything that makes me regret for that. Otherwise, I would not resign. I will be with him to protect myself as the other people. He said there are people with him now in his side, but they are not defending him. They are defending themselves. Because if he will fall down, they will be judged for what they have done. They will be judged for all things that they regret now they are doing it. So that's why they are defending him. They are not defending him, but they are defending themselves.
Mohammed Al-Abdallah, do you agree with that? There's a lot of self-preservation that's going on at this delicate time.
That's exactly what we're seeing. The ones who remain around him, including his sons, understand that it's a matter of survival right now. Gaddafi's disappearance and his regime's disappearance means the disappearance for them, the disappearance of the life as they know it, and as Mr. Masmari mentioned, they will